We are extremely pleased to be with you here today, and we are happy to dive into your question with you. Where would you like to begin?
Okay, thank you. My question concerns why it seems such a struggle for the law of attraction to work for me. And brief history, probably 25 years ago was when I discovered the law of attraction and the power of positive thinking and what you focus on, you manifest, creative visualizations, all of that stuff. And prior to that, I lived the first 32 years of my life as a complete atheist. I was not aware of anything to do with spirituality or energy or manifestation or anything like that. And I had a sort of spiritual awakening that introduced me to that realm. I had glimpses behind the veil of the spiritual life, ghost experiences and things like that. But specifically, was introduced to the metaphysics of energy and how we can focus on what we want to create in our lives and how that focus results in the manifestation. And so for the first, I don't know how long, couple of years, I was like a kid in a candy store, basically. I just was so excited to discover all of that stuff. And I honestly felt that the rest of my life was just going to be a breeze because I felt like I'd been sort of handed the manual to how to, live a great life and manifest whatever you wanted. And after a while, I guess I got somewhat discouraged and despondent because those things that I wanted, nothing of which was, outrageous. It's not like I was wanting, a Maserati and millions of dollars or a mansion on the ocean or, overlooking the ocean or anything like that. It was just, relatively modest things, but they didn't manifest. And I've continued to struggle. And I plunged into quite a long depression, the dark night of the soul. Thankfully, I'm through that, touch wood. But and then just more recently have become, let's say, reminded of the law of attraction again, and want to fully believe, but still struggle to actually have it work for me. And yet, it does seem to me to be like a law of the universe, like gravity, in that, it either works or it doesn't. And, I do believe that it does. And it seems to for other people, but not so much for me, or not as often as I would like it to be. And so my question is, why do I struggle with the law of attraction actually working in my life?
Well, we very much appreciate your question, and we really want you to get how it is working for you, because we promise you the law of attraction is a law, and it is always working, meaning that whatever you are focusing on, whatever you are creating the frequency of, so when you're thinking a thought, that thought creates a frequency, a vibration that then your physical reality shapes around that and brings you what is a match to your thoughts. Whether they're negative thoughts or positive thoughts, you are getting what it is that you are emitting the frequency of. So we want you to get at a base level that the law of attraction is still working for you. It's just that it's not working the way that you want it to, because you're focused on the lack of money and the lack of sales, the lack of things working out for you, and so you continue to remain in that frequency. So it's working perfectly for you, it's just that it's not working, you're not using it to your advantage. So we want you to be able to use the law of attraction to your advantage so that you actually can create the life that you want. And the money that you want. And so what we'll say is that when you first came across it, you were like a kid in a candy store. And so it was that initial energy that was so exciting that immediately shifted your energy out of a more negative focused state, or that state of disbelief and atheism and non-belief in something bigger than you. And so you came, your slingshot was so far back in all of those years of not believing in something bigger than you, that when you came across the metaphysical world and started seeing how the universe works, it's like letting go of the slingshot, and you were propelled forward into all kinds of magic happening for you as you figured it out. And so, of course, you did have that period of things working out for you. And then you started coming, so you had a higher frequency, higher vibe period, and then you started coming back to your more previous state of disbelief. And we do want to use the word disbelief with you because that's where your journey started out, was in disbelief in something bigger than you. And then these new laws, not new laws, these universal laws were newly given to you, and all of a sudden you had belief and you had hope, and you began to taste what real magic is like, which is the journey that you are meant to be on as a human being. You are meant to be on this journey of magic. Life is meant to be magical for you. And when you lose hope and when you don't believe in something bigger than yourself, then the magic's gone and you don't have belief. You don't have expectancy of positive things. You tend to start to expect the negative and not even wanting to ask for much, because at an underlying level, your expectancy was that it wouldn't happen. And so initially there was enough excitement and momentum that things started happening to you. But then as time wore on, those old patterns of negativity, pessimism, disbelief in what's possible started to surface, and so it became harder for you to create what it is that you wanted to create financially, abundantly for yourself. And so all of that is there, and what we really want to bring forth in the bigger picture of why there are so many people that ask and pray to the gods and are trying so hard to utilize the law of attraction to work on their side, to create money, to create financial abundance, and are not seeming to be able to really hit the levels that they want to. And what we want to say about that is that the law of attraction is a perfect law. It will reflect back to you that which you feel worthy of. It will always reflect back to you that which you feel worthy of. So underneath the dreams and desires that humans have, that they are trying to create, if they don't feel worthy of having them, they're not going to be delivered. You have to be somewhere in the frequency of really believing in yourself, of really knowing that you deserve to live a good life, really knowing that you are so lovable, so lovable, that you are worthy of receiving that which you are wanting. And so underneath so much of why it feels like it doesn't work and why people live in disappointment, the disappointment is not in the lack of the creations. That feeling of disappointment is a feeling of disappointment in yourself. The universe is reflecting back to you a feeling of disappointment in yourself. I want you to just breathe that in. I must not be very good at this. That's an underlying feeling, is I must not be doing it right. I must not be doing very well at this. That feeling of failure, that deeper feeling of I'm a failure. So if you have a deep subconscious thought that you're a failure, or that that somehow people are going to find out that you really are a failure. So many people are trying to put the smoke and mirror show on of how successful they are, because they have this deep fear that people are going to find out that they're a failure. Nobody is a failure ever. No one is ever a failure. It's impossible for you to be a failure, but that's a very common human belief, is that this fear that somebody's going to find out that you're a failure. And so that frequency keeps emitting into the universe. And so, of course, your manifestations are going to reflect back to you that underlying feeling of, well, that failed. Well, I must not be very good. I'm disappointed in myself. It's like, I can't do this. Here, I've been handed the keys to the kingdom. I've been given the rules to the universe. And here I've been given these magical rules. Life's going to be so easy. And then what happens? You can't get them to work, right? And it's not because they're not working, because they're working perfectly. But that feeling of, and I can't even get that right. Look, I can't do it. I just can't get that right. Do you get that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, dear one, you do have the keys to the kingdom. You are capable of more magic than you realize, and you are far more powerful than you realize. Far more powerful than you realize. And you have kept yourself disempowered by not believing in yourself. We really want you to get this. We want you to get that the law of attraction is on your side. And anytime the sales don't pan out, the money doesn't pan out, instead of getting angry at the universe or feeling like the magic's gone, instead ask yourself, where am I not loving myself? Where could I be more loving to myself? What's coming up for me as this thing that I want isn't coming through? What are the feelings that I'm feeling? Oh, I feel disappointed. wow, that's disappointment in myself, and really breathe into that emotion. Allow yourself to feel the disappointment, to see as you go into it, breathe into it, drop into your heart, breathe into that feeling of disappointment, and see what's available as you go into it, because it's just trying to get your attention. That feeling of disappointment is just trying to get your attention. It's saying, hey, look at me. This is like your little inner child saying, you've been disappointed in me your entire life. Please believe in me. This is your little one saying, please believe in me. Don't be disappointed with me. Love me. Pay attention to me. Let me know how powerful I am. Give me your attention, please, with love. I just want to feel loved. I just want you to love me. That's your inner child that is just begging to be seen and loved and appreciated, and your inner child doesn't want to feel like a disappointment anymore. That all comes from parental stuff. Parents plant those seeds of, you did that again. And we know that went on with your mother, who you do something well and then she rolls her eyes, and you would do that, wouldn't you? And so you have that inner child that was raised believing you was a disappointment, that he couldn't get up to snuff, that no matter what he did to try and please his parents, there was some condemnation that happened in it. So law of attraction has been working for you all along, dear one, responding to that. So do you get that?
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
So the beautiful thing about that is when you get it, now you have an understanding. The universal laws have been on your side the entire time. They have been working for you by reflecting back to you that which you have been thinking and feeling on a conscious and a subconscious level. And your work, as is most humans, is in your journey of self-discovery with yourself. It's in your journey of healing that relationship with yourself and seeing yourself as powerful and seeing yourself as magical and seeing yourself as worthy of having whatever you want, seeing yourself as worthy of being a successful businessman, seeing yourself as worthy of having easy money flowing in, seeing yourself as worthy of not having to work so hard and having life be easier and having money be easier, but you have to experience yourself as worthy of all of that and also lovable, which you are, dear one, which you so are.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Yeah, I think perhaps to some extent there's a semantics issue going on, in as much as the concept of or the word self-love for an English person are somewhat difficult to deal with, because we tend to be more humble than perhaps other countries, Americans generally, who are brought up with more praise, perhaps, and the American dream, and you can do it, and all that stuff. The Brits, it's almost like if you succeed, they can't wait to pull you down anyway. So there's some of that stuff going on as well. So perhaps for me, rather than self-love, even though I totally understand the importance of that, it's the worthiness. I think it perhaps would help me if I focus on feeling worthy rather than loving myself, which, as I say, tends to have a narcissistic connotation to a Brit, or at least this Brit. But the worthiness, yes, I do feel as worthy as the next person, and So I can certainly do more work on that.
So we love everything that you just said, because there are cultures who have a very difficult time with appreciating themselves, and so as a collective, as a British collective, there is that deeper energy of deprecation that also comes, and a deep levels of self-hate and self-loathing that then bitterly gets tongued towards others. So when you don't love yourself, you want to cut others down. When you're not feeling love from within, you want to make sure everyone else doesn't feel that too. On a subconscious level, that's the deeper piece that's going on there. So you don't want other people to succeed because there's a void within you, and it's cultural, and it happens in many cultures, and so it's an interesting thing, the feeling of it being narcissistic when you say self-love, because it feels boastful in some way, but there's also just the softening around that of getting that if you don't have a loving relationship with yourself, what you have is a warring relationship with yourself, where you are beating yourself up, where you are struggling against yourself, where you are pushing against yourself. You are not in harmony with yourself. You could call it self-harmony rather than self-love. If you are not in harmony with who you are, meaning that you're in your mind, there are things running, oh, I should have done that, I could have done that, oh, I can't believe I did that again, I didn't make any money today, I can't, that whole tape of all the things that you're doing wrong, that you should have done better. That's not being in harmony with your source. Your source energy, that broader part of you, is continuously loving you, continuously sending you love, unconditional love. It is who you are, is this extraordinary oversoul of unconditional love and utter and complete worthiness. And when you and your human mind are not in harmony with who you are in the bigger picture, rougher things happen in life. Money doesn't come. Life becomes more of a struggle. So when you sync up and internally feel how, feel that unconditional love that you are, that's you syncing up with the love of self, of it's not a bragging, it's not a narcissistic thing, it's simply an alignment thing. You're either in alignment with your broader self or you're fighting against it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you are lined up with your broader self, it's just easy to feel yourself as lovable, that you're a good person, that you're worthy of having what you want. And when your cup gets filled that way and there's no the lack of self-love void in you, then you move into overflow. You have more than enough money, you have more than enough time, you have more than enough love, more than enough relationships, more than enough good health. And you are of greatest service to the planet when you're in a state of overflow, when your cup is filled up. You can be more helpful to others, more financially supportive to others, more emotionally supportive, and you can hold the frequency of it's okay for us to love who we are and be ourselves in the world. And you can choose whether you boast about all of your creations or not, but if you're not in harmony with who you are, your creations are going to be less than what you're really desiring, because the universe wants you to feel harmony with itself. You are the universe. When you feel that harmony with the universe, that is when the universe is then able to bend over backwards, to allow magic to happen, to create more and more magic for you because you fully get that you are the frequency of the universe and you are not separate from it. You are a powerful creator. All magic is possible for you. And we want to point out to you that in narcissism, the lack of self-love goes both ways. So narcissistic behavior comes from a very deep sense of, a very deep lack of self-love. So if you are diminished inside in feeling truly worthy and feeling true self-love, what happens is you develop that narcissistic behavior that says, hey, look at me, hey, look at me, hey, look at me, I did this, I did that. It's sort of the Donald Trump syndrome where you have to have your names on all the buildings. You have to tell the world that you did everything. Everything is a grandiose statement. And that level of narcissism is coming from a complete lack of self-love. So both in the American culture of more boastful narcissistic behavior and in the British culture of total humbleness and self-deprecation, both cultures come from a core place of not loving themselves.
Oh, that's profound.
So it's a lack of self-love on both sides. And it's out of balance on both sides. If you get that, both sides of the pond are not loving themselves.
Right, they just manifest it in different ways, or they show it in different ways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So, dear one, when you find that balance of being fully loving of yourself, and not needing to prove it to everybody. The need to prove it to other people is coming from a lack of self-love. But you can be as humble as you want to be and quiet in the world, and you can donate millions to any foundation you want to as an anonymous donor. You don't have to boast. But you want to create the millions so that you can do that, and you can be as humble as you want in your abundance, loving yourself, knowing that you don't need to be overly complimented and acknowledged by everyone in the world, because when you really love yourself, you don't need acknowledgement from outside of you. That's just cherry on the cake when people appreciate you. But when your levels of self-appreciation are so deep from within, you don't ever need anyone to tell you how well you're doing. You just know it and you just feel it within yourself. Do you get that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, that sounds very powerful and totally resonates with me. Thank you.
Excellent. We are so appreciative of you. Excellent, yes. Wonderful question, wonderful answer, and we look forward to chatting with you again. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ina. Thank you, the Alchemists.